Hi, this is talk number 58, The Making of a Therapist, Lessons from Horses, and celebrating 40 years of Barnfield Riding School. There are times when people ask me how I became a sex and relationship therapist, and they imagine it began with psychology books and counselling courses or years spent in consulting rooms. In truth, I think my first teachers had 4 legs. For 15 years, Barnfield Riding School on the edge of Richmond Park was my world. I designed every corner of it, dreaming it into existence long before the first stable stood. My first husband, Rob Grayson, built it, turning those dreams into a steel frame and a brick construction that echoed with hoofbeats. Together we created far more than a riding school. We created a place where people and horses could grow in confidence together. This year marks Barnfield Riding School's 40th anniversary, and it's prompted me to look back with affection and gratitude. One of the things I remain especially proud of is that we started Barnfield Riding for the Disabled, a group which is still going strong today. At one point we had over 60 people riding with us every week who had learning difficulties or other challenges. Watching horses enable people to discover confidence, freedom, and joy was a privilege that often brought tears to my eyes. I remember one teenage boy with severe autism who rarely made eye contact and hardly spoke to anyone. With his pony, everything was different. Week by week, he began to get calmer, more communicative, and slowly started talking to his horse. One day he was chatting to the volunteers too. It was as though the horse provided a bridge into relationship that had previously felt too overwhelming. One young girl had cerebral palsy. Her muscles were often painfully tight, and after each riding lesson her parents noticed that she moved more freely and seemed more relaxed. They told us that the benefits lasted for days afterwards, making everyday activities just a little bit easier. One of the greatest gifts that horses gave wasn't simply physical. For many disabled riders, it was the rare experience of being in control. Instead of people constantly doing things for them, they discovered that they could communicate with this magnificent animal and influence where it went. The smile that came with that discovery was unforgettable. Moments like these reminded me that healing and growth often happen in ways we could never have predicted. I remember another man talking for the very first time. His first words were age 60, riding a horse. Extraordinary. Looking back, I can see why horses became so important to me. I often found them easier to understand than people. Relationships between humans felt complicated, while horses seemed beautifully honest. They responded to what was really happening rather than what I wished was happening. They taught me to notice breathing, posture, muscle tension, and intention. They taught me that what isn't said often matters just as much as what is. They also taught me about clarity. If I wasn't clear where I wanted to go, my horse probably wouldn't be either. Again and again, they reflected something back to me about myself, whether that was confidence, uncertainty, impatience, or calmness. I didn't think of these as life lessons at the time. I was simply learning to ride better. Only years later did I realize how much they taught me about relationships, trust, and communication. And those lessons quietly followed me into my work as a therapist. Whether I'm facilitating a Pesso Boyden workshop or sitting with a couple in conflict, I still find myself paying attention to the things that are easy to miss: a pause before someone speaks, a tightening around the eyes, the way someone leans towards or away from another person. I sometimes wonder whether that way of noticing began in the stable yard. In fact, I know it did. Dressage became my passion. To me, it was never about making a horse obey. At its best, it was about partnership, timing, and mutual respect. There were fleeting moments when the horse and me as a rider moved together so harmoniously that almost nothing seemed visible between us. Those moments taught me that the best relationships are built not on force, but on connection. Although Barnfield Riding School belongs to what I sometimes call my previous life, it's never really been left behind. The horses, the staff, and the stables still live vividly in my memory. They shape me in ways that I'm discovering still, and I suspect they prepared me for the work that I would eventually come to love. I wonder what experiences in your own life have quietly shaped the person you've become. Maybe it's a volunteer role, or maybe it's someone that you met along the way. Perhaps it's a job or a hobby you had. At the time, it may have seemed quite ordinary, yet looking back, you can see that it was laying the foundations for the life that you would later lead. Sometimes we only recognise our most important teachers in hindsight. Looking back now, I realise those horses taught me some of the most important lessons that I've ever learnt about relationships, how to listen without words, how to earn trust rather than demand it, and how real change comes through patience, consistency, and kindness. The irony is I thought I was teaching people to ride. In truth, the horses were teaching me how to become a therapist. If you'd like to read more about those years, I tell the story in chapter 7 of my book, Landscapes of the Heart, the Working World of a Sex and Relationship Therapist. It's all about that early start and my relationship with horses. And if you'd like to give feedback on this, I love hearing it. So www.bit.ly/JulietMusing, JulietMusing. Thanks very much. And tell other people about these if you find it interesting. Take care. Go well. Bye.